Hello, everybody. My favorite time of the month is here with Heart Book Circle. For those who don't know me or might be watching the recording later, I'm Helen Patterson. I'm the founder of LifeWorks Well, and I operate an HR consultancy where we help scaling organizations create healthy, high performing, and heart centered cultures. And after reading this book, I realized I may need to tweak my mission, message, and movement and everything else. But we do a lot with heart. And so this is a With Heart book circle, HR with heart. I'm working on a book myself, and it's about mentor with heart. And so I think when I met Sophie at a group program in with Giovanni Marsico, and I believe it was Odyssey or something. That's where we first met. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow, what an amazing woman. And there were so many heart-centered
Yeah.
people and founders. So I'm really excited to talk to you. So I'm going to do a brief intro. I have a few questions for you. And then I open it up to whoever's here that wants to, add some more. So Sophie is a speaker, an author, a business coach for entrepreneurs who despise or hate marketing. Some people here will probably relate to this. And she really helps mission driven business owners turn marketing from a chore into a joy, which I could really use because I will admit this is not the things that I love to do. You can read about her bio on LinkedIn and on the back of the book and everything else. But one of the other things I loved was I learned so much about you, Sophie, in reading this book that I didn't know about before.
Mm.
So she's developed the magnet model, which is part of the book, but she also did some of her education in London, a bachelor, master's from Sorbonne in Paris, and an MBA from Columbia University. I am just so blessed to be in your presence today. So thank you. I'm just feeling so blessed. But I also love that you design jewelry and that you also love to have read your historical novels as well and a cup of tea and all of that. So I'm so excited to dive into this book. I see a few more people coming in, so that's fantastic. So I'm going to admit them, and I'm just so excited. So the first question I'd like to lead us off with is I always like to know what your journey was about, the why behind the work and the writing of the book. So I'm just wondering, what was the turning point, like, or your personal experience that led you to create the magnet model and, what it unlocked in you personally? So just give us a little bit more background about you and your why behind the book as well.
Yeah.
But just to kick us off. So thanks again for being here. And thank you for everyone here too. If you want to introduce yourself in the chat, and then when you have a question later, you can just reintroduce yourself.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, Helen, for organizing this. It's so fun. So when I first started, how far do I go? When I was coaching LinkedIn, I was coaching entrepreneurs on how to use LinkedIn. This started about 5 years ago, just after the pandemic, and I was helping, and I've been on LinkedIn for 20 years, and I just loved using it. And I had always used it as kind of a fun thing for me. It was almost like a hobby, connecting with people from all over the world, which was something I had done a lot of in my youth. And so this was a way for me to, connect with people while I was stuck in an office. So I started coaching on LinkedIn, and my clients were getting, some pretty good successes. And they kept telling me over and over, oh my God, but you're teaching us so much more than using LinkedIn. And so I was, excited about that. I thought it sounded great, but I wasn't sure when I asked them, so what? And they couldn't tell me. They didn't know. They're like, it works. And I know that a lot of people are teaching LinkedIn in ways that are just not aligned with my values. And so that was a big part of it is I was doing it in a way that felt comfortable to me and that I knew was comfortable for my clients. But it kept bothering me that there was so much more that I was doing, apparently, but I wasn't clear what. So I really went back and I did some client interviews and I really studied what I was doing. And I did a lot of reflection to figure out like why am I doing LinkedIn or using LinkedIn differently than most other LinkedIn coaches? And that's when I found, the key principles, really digging down, that it was because was not there to do business initially. I had used LinkedIn as a fun thing. And I think, from there, it was about my mission and why I was so passionate about doing the things that I do. And that's when I took all of this learning and created the model, the magnet model, um, and the principles around it. And once I had that and I applied it in my coaching, which was, I now had labels and vocabulary and a visual. So it was what I had been teaching all along, but now it's codified, it was clarified, it had a name. And my clients loved it and they continued to have great success. And so I thought, well, why keep this to myself and just my clients? Let me put it out there. And people around me kept telling me, you have to write a book about it. So I was like, oh, a book? Really? You think? So then I did it.
That's so amazing. And there are a few people here who've written books or want to. So this is all great to share that. And I mean, just the way it's organized and you have a workbook and you can, when you think about movement, right? Creating a movement and the impact, it's so interesting because with a book, you can touch so many more people, those that might not be able to afford, expensive programming, or they're not at that stage as a new entrepreneur. So applying this is fantastic. There's one part that I wouldn't mind if you wouldn't mind just kind of touching on briefly, which is, which zone are you in? The four levels of business success and fulfillment. Would you mind kind of touching on those four, like the hidden, visible, influence, inspire, and maybe because for those people here, they might, feel like, okay, wait, where am I and what do I have to work on? I mean, we only have an hour, so
Yeah. Yeah.
you teach this, I think, in like a longer program and one-on-one with
Yeah.
clients. So we'll just touch on a few. So yeah, if you wouldn't mind, what zone are we in? That would be awesome.
Yeah, sure. So I just designed these four zones. So it's red, amber, light green, and then dark green. And the red zone is really where a lot of entrepreneurs are when either they're just starting or they have so many hang-ups about being visible that they just stay completely hidden and they're only able to get a few clients based on who they talk to, but it's a very, very uncomfortable place to be, this red zone, because you have this mission, you have an impact on your clients, but you're the best gets kept secret around and nobody knows you, and it's and the financial burden of that is weighs heavily. So that's the most uncomfortable zone. Well, I said most entrepreneurs. A lot of entrepreneurs are there, but most of them, once you start, you begin to be a little bit uh, visible on social media, and you do a few things. You start to get an email list. You start getting a lead magnet and things like that. Then you start to be in the amber zone, and the amber zone is really, or I think I call it the orange zone in my book. Well, never mind. It's just, it's where you're beginning to be visible and you have some referrals around you, you're getting some success, but it's not even, right? It's the typical roller coaster that we all, are sadly familiar with, right? Nobody escapes that. So that's the bulk of where entrepreneurs are. And I gave these names to kind of make this into, the way I describe it right now is kind of dry, but that's why I gave these people names and scenarios so it would become more lively, as a composite of all the people I've talked to over the years. So once you get to a place where you're starting to have more visibility, you're more comfortable, you're able to have an impact and influence people, that's where you get to be in the green zone. And you get more stability financially, you're having an impact. It's much more comfortable. But, at that point is where I'm saying, okay, a lot of people would stop there, right? And say, hey, I've got clients coming in, I'm comfortable financially. Why would I do anything else? Life is great. And, nothing wrong with that. But I feel like deep down there's something more because we came here with a mission, and let's really have it, unlock the impact and really go far with it. And that's where the dark green zone is, which is really where you influence, but you really have a much deeper impact and a much broader impact. So those are just the zones real briefly.
Yeah, I love that. And it's interesting because of the book. What we do here is we pick a theme for the month, and we picked impact.
Mm,
And I've been very uncomfortable with this whole thing about it's big and it's massive versus daily impacts. And so I've been kind of in this back and forth about it. But there was one quote I loved. This is around this section, and it was, the key is to embrace the bigness of your ambition,
yeah.
not for yourself, but for your mission, to speak up boldly for what you believe in and inspire others to follow you and take action along with you. And I think, you did talk a little bit about the lizard brain and the amygdala, and we all might understand some of that fear about how big we want things to be. And that's what kind of keeps us stuck sometimes as an entrepreneur. So I love just how you went through some of these things and tried to simplify it. And then one last question for me, then I'm going to open it up. I loved how you really, and to me, that's where I need to get, because with the mentorship, which has been calling me in a lot more, which is just one pillar of what we do at Life Works Well, but it's the one that's I'm the most passionate about, and it's driving me forward. And my book is going to be about that. So now I can see how I could apply this model to
Mhm.
that, because it's really not about me, and it's about that ripple effect of
Yes.
spreading mentorship and the value of the giving. And so, I love how here's the visual for people that, haven't dived. Sometimes people will be partially finished or just starting the book or whatever, but it's all good. So there's mission, message, and movement. And so, I know it's like a whole book, and it probably took you years or decades to get to this. So, but just really quickly, how that's organized so that,
Yeah.
when people go forward, if they want to relook at it. And I know Lovell, who's here, who's just started out on her entrepreneurial journey. So it's fantastic. So maybe if we can kind of just really touch on that for a few minutes, and then I'd love to open it up for others that might have questions.
Sure, sure. So, when I was, coming up with the principles, I saw, okay, there's three key things, and I, gave them these names with alliterations because that always sticks better. So, mission, message, and movement. So, mission is really the fact that we start on this entrepreneurial journey because we have a big idea. We want to help people, and sometimes a lot of times we start doing business and we do the day to day and the lead magnets and the emails and that, and we forget about the mission. And most of all, we forget to tell people about the mission. And that is something that creates so much resonance with our potential audience that it's really something we must get out there. And also the fact that, based on our story, our our qualifications, our experience, our life journey, all the things we went through, we are unique. And as entrepreneurs, we tend to go and seek out differentiation and differentiate ourselves as a verb, which to me is really toxic. We are unique. So all we need to do, it's all, it's not necessarily easy, but is dig out from our story our uniqueness and our special sauce. So that's mission is finding those things and really sharing them and then encapsulating them in an offer for our clients. Message is obviously about, our messaging, but it's really making sure that we have a deep, true understanding of our prospects and our audience so that we can dig down and really address the core of what is holding them back from seeking a solution. A lot of people just walk around with a problem and they may know what it is, but a lot of people don't, and they just live with it. They're habituated, and so it's our job as entrepreneurs to go and find that and really help them in our content and our messaging to be able to become aware of these and be able to address them so that our marketing is not just marketing, it's transformation even before anybody becomes a client. So that's the message part. And then the movement, you talked about it already. I like to speak of movement as at two levels. So one level is actually creating a movement, having, a membership or having, doing things on a big scale like speaking or writing a book or something like that that's concrete. But there's another level to movement, and you talked about that, is embracing the bigness of our mission. So even if we don't do anything concretely as to create a movement, if we start embodying the fact that our mission is important and we treat it with the respect and the bigness of it, it changes our stance. It changes how we speak. It changes how we present ourselves. And that in and of itself is a huge, makes a huge difference in how you show up and the impact you're going to have and the results you can have. So I like to speak about those two levels because not all of us are ready to, create a movement on that scale. And you talked about that.
Yeah, wow. I know there's so much in here. There's really I know we have been in touch throughout some of your process, and just to see it come to life and getting out there and sharing it. Yeah, so congratulations to you because it's just the beginning, right, of your movement. And
Yeah.
I mean, that whole thing about manipulative marketing, like we see it all, right? And there's a lot of that. And it's, making people feel bad versus, let's
Mhm.
create the heart centered part and like make people feel wonderful about, what we're sharing. So I would love to open it up if anybody else has a question so I don't monopolize all of Sophie's time. Just feel free to introduce yourself and yeah, and hop on out. Does anyone want to go? Oh, yeah, we have a hand up, Ricky. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hi, Ricky. It's good to see you.
Great to see you. As you know, when I first read your book, I don't remember the publication date, but I suspect it was early in the current administration.
Yes, early March.
And it made me cry
Mm,
because it was so filled with hope about a different vision for the future. And um, so I thank you for that, first of all.
appreciate that.
I think what I'm curious about now, I was not able to join your initial uh, beta group
Mm-hmm.
built around the book, but I'm curious how it's going, what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
what your participants are seeing.
Yes. Well, thank you for asking that, Ricky. It's been interesting because I always thought, okay, I want as many people as possible to be able to implement the model in their business. And right after I launched the book, I did some market research, as I say should in the book. And what was interesting is that, of course, having, marinated in the magnet model for a couple of years and implemented it and written about it, I was completely immersed, of course. And I made this silly assumption that, people would read the book and they would just be as immersed as I am and ready to roll and implement it. And I realized, no, there's actually, I think it's written in simple terms, but it's also quite dense and not dense, that sounds pretty negative, but it's intense. It has a lot of pieces to it, a lot of thoughts and concepts. And so I realized that there was actually a need for something in between having read the book and being ready to implement it. And I created a program, which was a 4-week program, where we really went in, and it was not about implementing at all. It was about reflecting and sort of thinking about, okay, how does this play out in my business? What do I want my business to look like? And what would it look like if I implemented this? And then, I created the program for the implementation, which I'm running now. So I call that the Fireside series, whatever name that came to mind at that point, because I wanted to convey the idea that we were just going to chat about it and talk about it and go into it and study it more together as a community. And I mean, I loved that. I enjoyed it so much. I'm going to do it again. Um, so many insights came through, and validation for some of the things that I wrote, but and the community that it created, the conversations, it was really deep, and people, bared their souls quite a bit. So that was really lovely. And then I started the incubator, which I'm on week 7 of the incubator, and that's really implementation. And again, this is not something that you can implement in 8 weeks. I realized that. I always knew when I would create a program, the first thought when I was drafting something was like, well, I think it's going to take a year to really have the whole thing completely implemented in the business, because it's more than just tactics. It's really how you think about your business, how you run your business. It's changing how you do your conversations, how you write your content. Like it's a change in the way you do business. So this is going through the main pieces, and then there's going to be, well, there already is a program that's ongoing, and then it's going through all the pieces, but then tweaking and getting feedback and all of that. So those are the things that I'm working on.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that because in a couple of earlier books, when I started this book circle last year, we broke the book down a bit, which was helpful because then you could take a few chapters. So I'm experimenting with all of this, but I'm loving it. So, and I don't know, I meant to mention at the beginning, but this year I committed because I started last fall to all women authors.
Mm.
And as a passion, as a support as well. And it's just been so amazing. We do have one fellow that usually shows up from time to time, so it's kind of interesting. I
Mhm.
see Catherine has that
Can I,
question too. So,
I'm so sorry. Can I add? I was going to, forget, but I want to add also that something else I'm doing, because not everybody can afford the programs that I put together. So I'm also creating, I don't know when I'm going to launch it exactly, within a few months, but I'm also creating a very low priced community where we'll just have conversations, a couple times a month. And I'll just lead a little bit of conversations and Q&A for people who want to read the book and just implement on their own, because I want this to be available, and I want to make myself available for as many entrepreneurs as I can who want to implement this. So
yeah, for sure. And I will definitely share with my newsletter anything, you want to send me at any time. I'm happy to share that out. And for those that are going to watch the recording, I think we have close to 30 people that have registered for some of the book circles, and so they're in and out, and some just for one author, but it's been great. And I just wanted to, yeah, really, I know Catherine has a question, and um, but I just really wanted to acknowledge, and when you first started out in your coaching, it was like you were offering that without payment, and I thought, wow, that says a lot about, again, to me, coaching, it's a paid thing. Mentoring is, unpaid, but we talk about that, and I just feel like you are really an everyday mentor from what you're putting out there, and a lot of people here who are sharing their expertise and passion, right? So that's where I get excited. But
Yeah,
so
and I still
Catherine,
offer a lot of free stuff, free profile audits
yeah,
and stuff. But yes, Catherine, I'm
amazing.
curious to know your question.
Can we first of all just give a big hand to Helen for mentoring us and finding beautiful people for this circle? Like, it means a lot, Helen. And
Yeah.
your mission is getting, like, you just need to shout it from the rooftops, because I think that, that amber to, light green is where a lot of us, we do sit there, right? And secondly, Sophie, I just want to say what a pleasure it is to meet you. I feel like I started my early career in marketing research and advertising agencies. And so, it's like, all this stuff, but I'm very resistant now. And, I'm so done with lead magnets and whatever. And we've had many conversations, Helen and I, about relationship marketing to the point where, oh my goodness, LinkedIn, like, oh, I can't wait to have a connection, like a conversation with you one-on-one. But, I wrote the book, I didn't think I'd be on TV, I did these things. And then I got like, really like, oh my God, what the frig am I doing? And so I was maybe in the light green, somewhere going to where, oh, I got a mission. I want to reach as many people as possible. But now I'm like in this space where what you're talking about with such clarity, thank you for doing that. I'm a roadmap person too. Is that spaciousness,
Yes.
that reflection, that, okay, so we have all of these things in our toolkit. What's the best way to serve our highest good, whilst we're also attracting clients, so that, I want to sort of retire at some point. Well, maybe live somewhere in the world where I can work from. So my true question is, what's this myth around client attraction, especially with respect to your coach? So I'm a licensed, well, I can't call myself a psychotherapist because I'm in Ontario now, but certified counselor in Canada anyway. And so I'm looking for this authentic outreach. What would that look like in action? That's what I want to call it, authentic outreach. And if I'm a client, a potential client, and I'm trying to find someone like me, is that through a group, talking circle like this? Because I love the whole idea of just like coffee with Catherine kind of thing. Or is it Psychology Today or LinkedIn? Like, can we
Yeah.
distill that down just a tiny
Yeah.
little
There's
bit for
so many
everyone?
levels. Yeah, there's so many levels to your question. So first of
Sorry
all,
about that.
I want to acknowledge the fact that you saw that spaciousness is really at the center of this whole thing. Because if we don't have that, then we're just running around, and that's what creates the pressure, and the pressure is what causes us to be pushing, and then the whole thing has fallen apart. The second thing I want to say is that this keeping the spaciousness and the ability to do this authentic outreach and authentic way of marketing is a daily battle. I see it myself because I wrote the book and I'm doing this
Yeah.
on a daily basis. I have to create this spaciousness so that the forces of financial need, definitions of success from others and all of this, it is pushing on us on a daily basis. You open your inbox, the pressure is there, and it can push on our boundaries, and it's a daily task to push back and to create the spaciousness so that we can not be pushing, but be, and that you're talking about the key to client attraction is not to look for them. So
love it.
yeah, and it's so hard because the minute you're like, oh, my sales could be a little higher this month, that's it. You're screwed.
If you build it, they will come.
And it is so hard. And the more you need clients, the more you need to push back on that urge to go seek them out. So the key is to remind yourself constantly of your mission and the fact that we are here to help. Now, if somebody wants to hire us and pay us, great, but we need to constantly be thinking that of that as a side effect that will allow us to continue doing this for a few more days, a few more months. So every client that comes in is just giving us what we need to continue what we're doing. But the main thing we're doing is this education of our audience and spreading our mission, having conversations that with people that feed into this spaciousness, and that the spaciousness feeds into, it's both ways. So anytime you're reaching out to people, it is to help them or to learn from them. Curiosity and generosity are the two things that I remind myself of daily and before every call. It's what gets me out of a funk, right? Whenever I'm in one. And if you do that, then the relationships, the conversations you go into are going to be different. You're going to be there to coach people if somewhere in the conversation, and I'm talking even networking calls, right? So you're in a conversation, you hear somebody say something, and you can apply your coaching ability, your skills to ask them questions that are going to help them think things through, right? So that's your little bit of coaching. They're going to be saying things that you're like, oh, that's an interesting word. I hadn't heard that before. So that goes into your market research. And then you connect them with other people, right? So when they're talking, I'm always scribbling in my book, oh, I need to connect you with so and so and so and so. And I always end up with this like boatload of connections afterwards. And then you remember this person, and when you meet somebody who they could benefit from knowing or vice versa, you make these connections. And it's connections between people, but it's also connections with, you see an article and like, oh my gosh, this is, a new way of doing book discussions. Let me send this to Helen, like it's constantly connecting. So in the course of doing all that, the people who need to work with you, who you need to have work with you, will emerge. And it sounds like woo woo, but it really does happen.
Love woo woo.
I hope this answers your question. And as for the tactics, you asked like, is it this, is it this, is it that? It could be a million different things. That's where the one-on-one work comes in, because it's based on, who you are, what you do, what your audience, and
Marketing research really does, like you said early on, it does. You have to fulfill what's that need. And then certainly everyone here has a different, certification. And sometimes we have legally, ethics around where we can advertise or what we can or can't say. So, you have to take all those things into consideration. But thank you. I think really, honestly, I agree. The spaciousness and doing the sitting in the mess kind of work to let those answers emerge. So thank you, and great roadmap. Love it.
Yeah, you love the roadmap.
I love a roadmap.
She has a great one in her book too.
Just to get to know that.
Yeah, I wanted to see if anybody else has a question.
Lavelle,
good, Lovell. You know what? I couldn't see the hand with the yellow background.
Yeah,
yes, there you go. Go ahead. Thank you.
So first of all, I want to reiterate what Catherine said. Thank you so much, Helen. I've benefited so much, and I love coming to your circles, book circles every month. I try to come every month as much as possible. So thank you so much for that. And so lovely to see Karen and Vera and Catherine again, and wonderful to meet you, Ricky. Um, and Sophie, thank you so much for so much of wisdom. I have to admit, I have not bought the book yet and I have not read, but that is the first thing I'm doing this weekend. There is so much that I think I will gain. So a little bit of background about myself. I have been in corporate HR for about 15 years and worked with Helen on the board of HRPA. I think I know Helen probably 10 years now. We worked together, and she's such a lovely person and big mentor for me as well. So I'm really thankful for that. Um, Recently, I've ventured into consulting and very, very new to it. So learning the ropes of being an entrepreneur, and every day and every person I meet, it is such a new learning experience, or it is an experience to unlearn something which I learned like 2 months back, and I thought that would work or that would be good. And My website just came up, Helen, so just this week, and still tweaking it a little bit. But I am in such a space that it's been months that I haven't done any HR work, which I love to do. But I'm supposed to be doing marketing and sales and all of that. No sales have come through yet, but anyway, I think it is in the works and it will one day show up. But learning all this marketing and how do I present myself, how do I make space, and how do I um, where do I go, where will I find my clients, all of that is still in the learnings. So I'm so sure that your book is going to be such a big asset for me, for learning. With all of this, I did have a question. So I've been going to obviously a few wherever I hear networking events to make new connections and see what comes out of that. But when I'm with women and in women's circles, we always talk about, giving the space, like you said, creating that space and talking from the heart and keeping the mission in mind and not just keep worrying about sales or what is going to come out of this connection and all of that. The difference I see is when there are male people that I meet and talk to, they'll tell their name and ask my name, and the first thing they say is, "So what do you do?" And I say a little bit about what I do or what I'm trying to do. And then when I say, "So you are in a business of your own, or are you working?" So I'm not trying to ask a direct question like this, right? What do you do? So then they just tell about the business, and here's my business card, and let's connect and see if there is something, or if you know someone who needs it, they go on like that. So in your coaching journey and teaching people and dealing with people, do you see that very distinct difference between men and women, and how come it works for them and it doesn't work for us? That's my curious question.
Yeah. Again, a lot in there. It works for them, it doesn't work for us. I don't know. Does it work for them necessarily? Maybe, maybe not. Or maybe not in the way that they would like necessarily. I've seen a majority of men do it this way, but I've also, this sort of aggressive way. I've also seen women do it that way. And I've seen some good men do it our way. So I think there's, as a majority, there's probably truth in this dichotomy to a large extent, and it is very, very much supported by the way our society is built and all the messaging we get around us. So there's a lot of bro stuff going on, but I am fortunate that I have met a lot of men who are, you know, with us. They're on the good side of the fence. So that's why I've decided to not specialize in coaching women, or, you know, and I belong to a lot of women's organizations because of that, because I know that there's some solid ethical standards and values that I enjoy. So I see it, and at the same time, I don't want to fall into, you know, generalizations. You were talking before about your starting your business, and you need to do all this marketing, and this is the main reason I want this message to go far and wide, is that we have our mission, we have our client work, all this stuff we love doing. And then there's this brick wall. And then on the other side of that is marketing, and we don't want to go there, right? And my mission is really to break down this wall and not have this dichotomy happen. So when you say, yes, I love HR and I haven't done any of this HR work that I love, but I have to. So, in other words, you're saying I can't be doing that until I have clients, right? But I have to do sales. And so I think the way out of that is to um, a couple of things. You can do some volunteer work, or just, coach for free, or, because that will put you in a different mindset. It will put you in a different place in your body. It will fill your cup. So it won't fill your bank account, but it will fill your cup. And when your cup is full, then you can start to have activities that will fill your bank account. But if cup is empty, your bank account's going to stay empty. So you can do that. And then the other thing is, you can start to create content that is going to help your audience. So all the wisdom that you have accumulated, all of this knowledge, all of the tips you would give, all the things you would say to your clients, you can pour them into your content. And that puts you in that energy that, again, is going to fill your cup. And then people are going to comment on that, and you'll have conversations. And then you can also reach out to people and do market research conversations, right? So all of this will fill your cup, and it will create these connections that will lead to clients.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So much there. I think, Vera, did you wave your hand?
Yep, I did.
Hello, my friend. So lovely to see you here.
It's good to be here. Sophie, I haven't finished reading your book because I'm waiting for cataract surgery. So reading right now is a challenge. But over the years, you can't hear me?
No, I'm sorry. I made that gesture because after you ask your question, let me talk to you about the audio version, which could help you.
I'm not an audio learner.
Oh, okay. All right.
I recorded my book as an audio book as well. And to tell you the truth, I've never listened to it because I'm not an audio learner. I know that.
Okay.
I know myself that well. But I was going to say a couple of things. First of all, I'm not a roadmap girl. I'm one of these that has to dip in and out. I'm a squirrel. I'm a quick start, but not really good in the follow through. And but over the years, I've listened to bits and pieces of yours, and I want to tell everybody that LinkedIn has been my primary source of revenue, of leads. Over and above Instagram or anything else like that, LinkedIn has been reliably, slowly but reliably, my source. And so you never know where it comes from. Sometimes I've commented on somebody's post and then they DM'd me and we've gotten into a conversation. And sometimes it's somebody who's reached out and said, I've been following your post for years and love your content and I'm ready. And I'm going like, whoa. And I don't do coaching and I don't do individual courses. For me, it's corporate workshops and talks and stuff. So it's a slower process for me. I'm aware of that. But the other thing, just to come back to what you were saying, Level, and a little bit even with Catherine, Philip McKernan, some of you will be familiar with Philip McKernan. He said something to me a couple years ago, which I will never forget. He said, how dare you be so fucking selfish as to deny the world your gift?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have to remember, because we have a gift, and sharing it like Sophie's just been doing, like Catherine, like you're talking about doing. When we share our gift, we are actually creating that whole process of giving and receiving. And then to come back to what Sophie's saying, once we share, we have to be open to receive. So we have to ask. And the type of introductions that we're talking about, women want to do that reciprocal introduction. Men don't necessarily do it the same way we do, but they do it because they're not afraid to ask directly. We're afraid to ask directly, so we need to do it in the way that's comfortable to our bodies. So I just had to add on to what you were saying, Sophie, because it's dead on.
Thank you. Yes, a lot of times when we talk about making introductions, men and a lot of people will hear it as a referral. Like, no, that's not what I'm talking about. So you have to redefine that. It's just introduction, because I think you'll like each other, right? Like if I didn't know Vera and Helen knew each other, you might say something, Vera, in a post where I would think like, oh, let me introduce those two. They're gonna enjoy talking. So yeah. Every time we are in this fear and scarcity mode, it's really useful to think of it as I'm just being selfish, and not beat ourselves up for it, but just enough to make us think, okay, let me look at it the other way. Yeah.
Wow,
Thank you for that.
beautiful. Thank you
Sophie,
for that,
very,
Vera.
very quickly, I just wanted to know, Sophie, is there an e-book as well, or just a?
Oh, it's available on Kindle, so you can definitely do that. And actually, I was just in a cross promotion, and I haven't put the price back up again, so it's 99 cents right now. So go for
Yes.
it.
Oh, and
Okay.
I got that as well, because I thought I want to hear Sophie's voice for the Kindle sale. Or no, I got the Kindle, but I want to hear the voice. I love listening. So
Oh,
I'm
thank
like
you.
Vera. I do both a lot of times too, and sometimes I'll listen to it several times.
Maybe we can share the link. It's on Spotify.
Yeah.
I just recorded it
Okay.
the low.
Yeah,
Okay.
send that, and
But
I'll definitely
Right,
do a
because
round.
sometimes it's convenient to listen. Because Vera, your book I have downloaded it on Audible, and there are many days when I'm feeling low or whatever, and I'm taking my dog for a walk in the evening. Then I go, okay, I'm gonna listen to Vera, and it just so much encouragement, and yeah.
Karen, you're there. Do you have a quick question while we have you out, or
I don't, because everybody already asked all of the things I was thinking.
I know, and it's so
So I
amazing,
love
because
that.
the thing, Karen, you might not have got to this part yet, because I know you were late in that too. But there's a section on manifesto, which when Sophie was posting a newsletter on LinkedIn or something about it, I was like, wow. Karen and I had actually talked a couple of times about, wouldn't it be great to do a session on like helping others create their manifesto? And I thought, okay, Sophie, you must have something like that. But because that, to me, I love the creative part of that, like taking all of this inside of me and just getting it in a different visual versus a vision board. I like that too. But then the words and something like that. So maybe if you could touch on that quick, and then we'll see if Jennifer has any thoughts as well. Because I love it. You don't see it a lot. I've seen a few companies, but I don't see it a lot still. Or maybe I'm just not in the right places to see.
I don't see a lot of them at all, and I don't hear a lot of conversation around it. Some people don't like the word manifesto, but But what that reminds me of is how I want to create all kinds of workshops and programs. There's not enough hours in the day to, because you create something and then you have to like do the marketing for it. It just all takes time, right? But I have all these ideas for creating programs, and create your manifesto is one of them. I want to create something like what is the business that you really want, kind of thing, right? Which would have parts of the mission, vision, parts of the, chapter 6, which is about your story and how to bring that into your differentiation. So watch this space. The other thing I wanted to say is, for all of you who are willing to, I would very much appreciate a review of my book on Amazon. So, and it's always good when they're verified purchases. So if you want to go ahead and buy the 99-cent version, then you can write a review, and I would much appreciate it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And see, that's a great example of asking, because a lot of us do not do that and then also receive. So we're getting better. Jennifer, I'm so happy you made it today. So good to see you. I didn't know if you had a quick question before we wrap up. It's so nice. We're still been trying to meet each other in real life. So
I know. And sorry, wasn't on screen. I ended up having to pick up one of the kids, but I've been listening, and I'm absolutely thrilled that I got to listen this morning. And I don't have the book. I will have the book by tonight. And I really saw I'm really intrigued by the overlap with the work that I do, which is on state of mind, and a lot of what Sophie, you were talking about is really tapping into like the state that we're in, and whether that's fear and scarcity or whether that's generosity and curiosity that will drive how we show up and our experience. And so I really loved that aspect of it, and so I'm really excited to dive into the book from that perspective as well.
Yes, I appreciate you saying that, because that is really at the core of all of it. Like, if you are in a scarcity mode, sitting at your desk, nothing good is going to happen. That's just how it is. And I know, because I've spent years of 14 hours a day in front of my computer, not accomplishing much. So it's just, once you're there, it just doesn't happen. So yeah, go for a walk, think of all the things that you're grateful for and how life has led you to be where you are and how you can help people, and then come back at your desk, and you have 150% chance more that good stuff will happen.
Yeah, and being with people, right? I think we get into routines, and the mind likes that because then it can predict. And so it actually keeps us really small. So even to the woman who was speaking earlier about her new business with HR, I know for sure the best thing that you could do, and you talked about this, is get out and do stuff, right? Like meet people. At the beginning of my launching my business, I would go to different hotels and sit in the in the lobby and meet people there, and have my conversations there versus on Zoom, or and just be out and about. And it changes your energy completely.
Yeah.
Well, that's so interesting, because there's a part in the book on the mindset and the financial. You get into this, so you're going to really like that, Jennifer. And if anyone doesn't already connected with Jennifer on LinkedIn, her content is fantastic. And I can't remember how we even met, but somehow we connected.
I think it must have been HRPA, because I think back in the day, it's amazing. Yeah.
Who knows? And Ricky, I see your hand up. So Jennifer, so great to see you. Thanks for being here. I know we're getting close. If anyone has to go, don't worry. We sometimes go over a little bit, but I'm always respectful and mindful of people's time. Ricky, go ahead.
Sophie and I have known each other for several years now, through various communities. And as her business has evolved and my new business has evolved, I often say we're like two sides of the same coin. So what I wanted to encourage you to do, Sophie, right now, because people read your book and it's like, oh my God, this is so amazing. It's so inspirational. It's fantastic. But because you have these programs where people are starting to implement, and even if it's just the very first step that they manage to accomplish, I want to encourage you to go back and have those deeper conversations and capture those impact stories, because those impact stories are the ones that are going to attract more people.
Yes, and I need to do that, and I probably need help doing that, and so I will be in contact with you, and then we can do the reverse of what we did a few years ago when you were my client, then I could become your client. A lot of that happens in this world, right?
Yeah, that's how it works. Ricky, we'll have to connect as well, because I'm sure, if you want to put your information, or we can connect on LinkedIn, because you just never know where that person will show up. And it's like serendipity sometimes, right? It's like, okay, wow, this person was on this call and can help me with that next thing. Well, I don't know about everybody, but I am just going to go into the rest of my day feeling amazing as usual after these With Heart book circles. So once again, I just want to thank you, Sophie, for spending this time and agreeing to do that. And someday, maybe, I don't know if you're going to be in Toronto for any future events or anything, but somehow I want to get a signed copy. So
yes, but I missed you last time I came up a couple of months or so ago, but I will be back. Let me put in the chat where to book a chat with me for anybody who wants to.
Perfect. Yes, and I will again.
All of you.
Yes, I would love to, and do a wrap up, and I'll send out the recording. I usually do that with my newsletter as well, and for people that have signed up for the book circle, so they have access if they want to go and listen to it, or watch it on YouTube, which is another thing to do later. I have no strategy around that, but it's okay. I'm learning from Karen's support. She's like, just because I said I just posted something, I decided I just felt like it, and it was the highest impressions in the last ages, and I'm like, okay, I got to just keep doing more of that. One last thing, we're taking August off for the book circle. I was going to, there's a couple people that were available, but I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a break for the summer. And then I do have end of September and October lined up to amazing women authors. One is actually Lovell. I think you'll like it. It's The Squiggly Line Career, written by a former executive in HR, but it's just, again, a great way to kind of look at careers and things like that. And then the next one after that is again, someone I met at an event. And so I will be posting about her book. And I still am looking for one or two to wrap out the year. So if anyone has any other thoughts on women authors, I know there's a lot. I think someone actually reached out, Sophie, in your connection. So
I can.
I am loving it, and I have no idea where it's going to take me, but I love to experiment a bit, so that's good. And I do feel like this is the kind of community I enjoy and love, and it lights me up. So I really also want to thank all of you for showing up and giving your time out of your day. And I really hope to see you again on one of the calls, and reach out anytime.
Lovely.
And
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll see you, I guess, in September. But unless I decide to do a last.
Sounds like a song, Helen.
Oh, yeah? Yeah, exactly. All right.
Helen, I just want to say that I can't wait till we do your book.
Yes.
And mine someday when I get
we'll be the co-facilitators, right, Karen?
Yeah.
That's right. Actually, Emmeline said, Helen, when yours is out, November 11th, 2025. Have you special meaning?
We won't forget.
But And but Emmeline said we have to get someone to facilitate the book circle.
You got
when your book
facilitators
comes
in the
out.
room.
We can do that.
know.
I know some people.
Yes. Yes. Anyway.
Have you already done Catherine's book?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I'll have to go
Yeah.
grab the recording of that then.
Yeah.
me too.
Yeah. It's on the
A book
I'll
circle of
send it to
authors.
you.
I love this.
Isn't it fun?
I know. And it wasn't that intention, but I'm loving it. So on that note, let's all just have a
group
wonderful
hug.
weekend.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, big hug,
And-
big hug.
And I hope to see, well, I'll see all of you on LinkedIn. So
Have a great rest of the summer.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of summer and thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ellen.
Bye.
Bye.
Helen.